Die, die, die! Hello, creeps. My name is Cameron Chaney, author of Autumn Crow and host here on Library Macabre. Today, I've got for you another Fear Street reading vlog. A couple of years ago, the Fear Street movies came out on Netflix. It was a trilogy. They were all released about a week apart. It was a big event, especially for Fear Street fans like myself. I loved Fear Street as a kid and as a teenager, so the movies were very exciting, and I decided to vlog the experience of watching the movies. At the same time, I was also going back and reading the books in order from the time they were released to the end of the series. Now, I've not made it to the end of the series yet because there's like 150 books or something. But right now, I am on to one of my favorites, which is the Fear Street Cheerleaders trilogy.
How funky is your chicken? How loose is your goose? Our goose is totally loose.
There are more Cheerleaders books. R.L. Stine did a couple of spin-offs and a couple more sequels. I'm just looking at the first three, the original trilogy in this video. These were some of my favorite Fear Street books growing up. Not my absolute favorite, but very, very, very close. These follow a couple of sisters who come to Shadyside High and they become cheerleaders, and then there's the curse, the Sarah Fier curse. So these were actually a very big inspiration for the movies. The movies are loosely based off of the books, but they did take certain plot points from a lot of the books, and the whole Sarah Fier angle was definitely taken from the Cheerleaders books. Now, I have read the first book 2 times, and I've read each of these once. You know, I reread this book pretty recently. I have not read the second and third book really since I was in my tweens, early teens. So it's been a long time since I've read these. Not as long since I read this one. In fact, last year I posted like a travel vlog of me going to stay in a cabin in the woods on Friday the 13th. If you've not seen that video, I'll link it up here. I started reading this book while I was there, and it was supposed to be kind of a Fear Street reading vlog, and it didn't happen. I ended up only getting about this far into the book because I was so busy book shopping. So we are going to pick up where I left off, which is page 29, and we're going to continue reading The Cheerleaders. Now, the reason why I'm doing it right now is because I am actually dog sitting at my parents' house, which is why I'm in a completely different setting. I'm in a different house than I'm usually at. I am going to be staying here tonight, Thursday night, Friday night, so after work, coming back here, and then I'm going to be here Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I have Monday and Tuesday off because on Tuesday it's actually 4th of July, which when you're seeing this, it's definitely not 4th of July.
Oh, hi, Gypsy. Hi, baby. Come here.
This is Gypsy. You can't really see her. She's really, really pretty.
And she's a sweet baby. Yeah, you're a sweet baby. Hi. Hi.
She's like,
Is it treat time? You want treats? Wanna get some treats? Let's get some treats.
Allie. She's not coming. I'll have to go see what she's up to.
You want a treat, Gypsy?
Let's do one of these. There you go. Bandit. Oh, there's Allie.
Hi, Allie. Hi, baby. Do you want another treat?
Good girl. Also, while I am on my little, I guess, dog sitting retreat, I'm gonna treat it as if it's a retreat. Other than reading Fear Street books, I'm gonna be watching horror films in this video. And I'm also filming a separate vlog all about the finishing of my novel because I need to finish Autumn Crow High, Fresh Hell, the first book in the Autumn Crow High series this weekend. I need to finish writing it so that way it can go to editing. So that by the time you're seeing this video, Autumn Crow High, Fresh Hell is out. And I think it's appropriate considering Autumn Crow High is actually a throwback to Fear Street books. So without further ado, I'm going to get into reading some Fear Street books. I also have the new Fear Street Cheerleaders bind up. This just recently came out. It's called True Evil. It contains all 3 of these books in a brand new edition. I brought this along because I wasn't sure if I would want to break into this and read this copy versus reading my nice first edition Fear Street books. But I do know that these editions have been revised a little bit. It might be interesting to kind of compare and contrast and jump back and forth. But for now, I think I'm just gonna dig into the original copy here and start reading Cheerleaders, the First Evil. The impact was fast and hard. What had they hit? A tree, a rock, the curb? The bus seemed to bounce, to fly up off the road, to bounce again. Jennifer's startled scream was drowned out by the squeal of the skidding tires, by the crunch of metal.
Tigers growl, tigers roar, do it again, more, more, more.
All right, so I just read the first part of Fear Street Cheerleaders, The First Evil. So I'm about 50 pages in, and now we're gonna be going on to part 2, The Fall. I'm not gonna be spoiling very much about these books, so don't worry. The story starts off with Corky and Bobby, and they are new in town, and they really want to join the cheerleading squad. These girls are already really good cheerleaders. They were in the big leagues at their old high school. So even though the cheerleaders at Shadyside High are not happy about letting these girls into their squad, they know that if they want to make it big, they're gonna have to let them in.
Well, then you better bring it.
Oh, it's already been brought in.
So they do, and they are on the bus right now going to their first game. But one of the sisters says that they forgot the batons for the act at their house, and they live on Fear Street. So they turn the school bus around. They're gonna go to the house and pick up these batons, but there's a terrible storm that blows in, and the bus ends up getting into an accident right at the Fear Street Cemetery. So they crash into the Fear Street Cemetery. The head of the cheerleading squad, Jennifer, gets sucked up through the window of the bus, almost as if she's been pulled through the window, and she lands on Sarah Fear's grave. And the paramedics show up and they take her pulse, and she is dead. And then her eyes open up and she's okay, and she is brought off to the hospital. I love this book so much, and it feels really good to get back into Fear Street again, because it's been about a year since I've read any Fear Street books. It's like coming home. It always is. I can always pick up a Fear Street book and immediately just fall right into it. R.L. Stine's writing style is just simple and easy and breezy. It's very, very easy to get into these books. So did some reading. Now I think I'm going to get the dogs some food. I'm gonna make some dinner for myself, and I may do a little bit of writing, or I may watch a movie. My dad has this really, really nice big TV. It's quite a bit bigger than mine at home, so I want to take advantage of it and watch some movies. I recently got my Vinegar Syndrome halfway to Black Friday order in the mail, so this is one of those movies. It's called Evil Laugh. It's an 80s slasher film, and I'd really like to dig into this. Let's show you a little bit of the house. I actually used to live here, like back in my early 20s, and one of my favorite things to do when I lived here was to sit out here on the patio and read and write. In fact, I wrote a whole bunch of Autumn Crow out here, my very first book. I would always sit out here and write my stories for the book. As you can see, there's a lot of smog right now because of the fires in Canada. So hopefully the air quality will get a little bit better, and I will be able to sit out here and do some reading and some writing. Anyway, time for some dinner, and then I think I'm gonna go ahead and watch Evil Laugh. What is for dinner? Ice cream? I really don't know what I want. Actually, I think there's a pizza downstairs in the deep freezer. Oh, deep freezer. This is where the bodies are kept. Yep. I'm thinking, ooh, Boston Market. You guys remember Boston Market? They had the best mac and cheese ever. This is the basement. It's a game room now, but I actually used to live down here. You guys probably remember seeing pictures of my apartment down here, or my little Halloween decoration tour that I did. Mostly you probably remember this room. This was my library back when I lived here. Now it's a workout room, but there's the Dumbledore quote that I had above my chair, which used to sit right here. It's pretty weird to see it now and to think that it's a workout room when it used to be a library.
Try it again.
Wait a minute. Wait. Okay. What'd you do? I just banged it like this. Like that? Yeah. It always worked for Fonzie on happy days.
I'm really liking this so far. The long corridor stretched out before her like a tunnel. Gray lockers lined both walls. The classrooms were dark and empty. The loud crash behind her made her jump and cry out. She spun around in time to see a locker door swing open, then slam shut. Bang! Bang! The sound echoed until it became a terrifying roar. Click the like button or you can kiss this squad goodbye. Happy Friday! I finished work for the day, which means that I'm officially on my 4th of July break. I have lots of reading and writing and movie watching ahead of me. I read quite a bit more from Fear Street Cheerleaders #1, The First Evil, and I'm almost done with the first book. I'm literally just like 30 pages away from the end, which means I have gotten past the big twist. So the first book has a giant twist that I'm not gonna spoil for those who haven't read the book, but for those who have read the book, if you know, you know. It's quite the risky move, I will say, especially for a Fear Street book, but it's always been one of my favorite parts about this book. Is the fact that R.L. Stine kind of goes for it, but I think he does stick the landing, unlike some of the cheerleaders in this book, because the cheerleaders are always falling on their heads. For instance, we have a moment frozen in time right now. The cheerleaders are throwing her up in the air and she seems to be levitating. Everybody knows that as soon as the snapshot is done, this girl is falling on her head. That's always what happens during all of these cheerleading practices, is that at least one girl ends up falling and landing on her head with a sickening crack. And then everybody goes to make sure she's okay. And she's like, "Oh, I sprained my wrist." So far it's happened once, but I remember from reading these books that it happens more than once. Another thing that I find very amusing about the Cheerleaders books, and all of the Fear Street books really, is that there's always characters ending in I. Like the characters' names end in I. So you've got Corky, Bobby, Kimmy, Ronnie, Deborah, which could have easily been fixed by calling her Debbie. I'm not making fun of this. I love this. In fact, I really want to incorporate this into the cheerleading squad in Autumn Crow High. And it would be kind of a running joke that, don't they all have the same name? I am loving my reread of the Cheerleaders so far, and I can't wait to read more. I feel like I'm gonna finish the first book tonight, but for now, I actually need to get writing done. Boy, it's raining hard. It is Saturday morning, 11 a.m. I am on my way to the coffee shop. Now, I did finish The First Evil last night, so I wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts here. Of course, this is my 3rd time reading the book, so it's all pretty much tattooed in my memory now. The ending of the book is very, very cheesy and silly, and that's kind of what I love about it. I don't want to spoil the end of the book, but there's a big showdown between one of our main characters and the ancient evil that has possessed somebody from their group. The Fear Street books can sometimes feel like a soap opera in a way. They're very heightened and dramatic.
Ow! You guys!
So that book is done, and I went ahead and started the second Evil yesterday, and it feels great to get into the second Evil. The first book kind of just followed Bobby and Corky. This one does follow the other cheerleaders as they're hanging out. At the beginning of the book, they're driving around together. You know, they're talking about who's dating who, which those are some of my favorite things about reading Fear Street, is just the teenage talk. I love scenes like that. Second Evil is really good. I can't wait to read more of it today. But for now, I am going to get me some coffee and do some writing. So I will catch you guys very soon. Hey creeps, so I'm back home. I just got back from my writing session at the cafe and got about 2 pages written, which is pretty good for me. I'm still going to write more today, but I decided to come on home. And I think what I'm going to do is watch a movie for a little bit, and then I'm going to do some more writing and also some more reading, of course. I have lots of movies that I brought with me to watch, so I'm going to decide on a movie next. Here is my box of movies. I already watched The Mole People, so I can put that aside. I brought season 1 of The X-Files because I've been rewatching it from the beginning. I've been rewatching the Tales from the Dark Side TV show, but I've never seen the movie, so I brought that with me to maybe watch at some point. Some classics. I got my new Mexico Macabre box set, which is pretty cool. I already watched Curse of the Crying Woman, which I thought was excellent. Just like a perfect gothic horror film in tradition of like Universal Monsters. Buried Alive, Blood Delirium, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I've been rewatching that too. Shriek of the Mutilated. There's a lot of different movies to choose from. I really don't know what I'm going to choose. I'm going to decide on something and then I'll be back. So I ended up choosing a movie, but it wasn't any of the movies from the box. I actually ended up watching my buddy Michael Bailiff's new movie, which is called He Never Left, which is kind of a slasher. He did the cinematography, he edited the film, produced it. Michael Bailiff is behind Witching Season Films, which does some really cool work. If you've not seen their movies, you've probably seen their Halloween ambiance on YouTube. Those are pretty popular as well. And if you haven't, I recommend you look it up because it's really good. Anyway, his new movie is not out yet. I saw kind of a screener copy, so I don't really know how much I can say about it just yet, but I will be saying more about it when I come back because I really liked it. I thought it was great. And now I'm doing a little bit of writing, and I will probably do some reading here shortly. I want to read a little bit more from The Second Evil and see what those cheerleaders are up to.
Today we're going to cheer loud, jump high, and look pretty because cheerleaders kick!
Hey everybody, it's Sunday morning. I just had breakfast and I wanted to update you on my reading progress because I did a little bit more reading yesterday. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the crossovers I've been seeing. So I saw that Sookie makes an appearance, which is really cool. Sookie is one of my favorite little side characters of the Fear Street books. Also, we had an appearance from the main character in a book called The Sleepwalker. That's one of my favorite things about the Fear Street books, are the fact that these characters tend to cross over. So I'm going to be doing a whole lot more reading today, but for now I'm going to go down to the coffee shop, get some more coffee because this coffee is a little bit unsatisfying, and then I'll come home and get started on some reading. After school on Monday, Corky hesitated at the double doors to the gym. On the other side, she could hear shouts and the thunder of sneakers pounding. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there, and I certainly didn't hear you over the booms of fireworks that are going on outside. It is July 3rd, right before Independence Day, so people are firing off fireworks everywhere, and the dogs are losing their shit. They're staying very, very close to me. They don't like the booms. You don't like the booms, do ya? They've actually not been letting me sleep over the past couple of nights. I've not gotten a full night's rest. And I'm not too used to the mattress either, so my back is killing me. Absolutely killing me. Either that's just part of turning 30 or the mattress is a little too firm. Maybe a little bit of both. I have spent the entire day writing, and I do mean the entire day. From the time I got up this morning all the way up until now. It's literally 10 o'clock and I just got done writing. And I'm still not done with this book. It's very close to being done though. I was writing the final chapter and then I decided, oh, I need to split this into 2 separate chapters. So I technically still have 1 more chapter left, which is already summarized. Hopefully it goes quick. And then I have the epilogue. Tomorrow it's gonna get done. I swear on my life, it's gonna get done. And with the way it's going, I'll probably not get any sleep tonight, and I will just be up all night writing. So I may wake up tomorrow completely delirious, but at least the book will be done. For now, though, I am going to dig into some more Fear Street. Right now, we are following Corky Corcoran, who goes to the Fear Street Cemetery very often. For reasons, and I'm not going to get into that. You'll have to read the book to find out why. She is still a bit traumatized over everything that happened in the first book. She is especially watchful at the cemetery for the spirit of Sarah Fier. She's really worried that the evil is back. So Corky decides, all right, I'm going to go back to the cemetery tonight. I'm going to bring my boyfriend with me. We're going to keep an eye on things, and if we don't see anything, we'll just assume that it's all over and I can go on with my life. But then they meet somebody in the cemetery. She's there doing grave rubbings in the middle of the night, and the grave that she's working on is Sarah Fier's grave. So,
Hi. How you doing?
Okay, I'm gonna dig into this book and I will check back really soon and let you know my thoughts.
We've got Razzmatazz, Pep, Punch, and Pizzazz. Hey you've been had. Shadyside Tiger's got Razzmatazz. Razzmatazz!
Good morning. The dogs actually let me sleep last night, which was wonderful. I'm still very tired though. I feel like I have many hours of sleep to catch up on, but it is now 9:30, so it's time to get up. It is 4th of July. I'm wearing my 4th of July shirt. Got some red, got some whitish tones, got some blue. It's about all I've got. Today is the last day. I need to get this entire book done. It has to happen. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So I really don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done today. It really depends on how quick I can finish the book. It's probably gonna take me all day and all night like it did yesterday. Hey creeps, I'm back with another update. Not much of an update. It is Tuesday evening and I have not done much reading in The Second Evil. I've spent the last couple of days just writing. That's all I've been doing, but the book's done. It's done, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy to say that. But I have read enough that I can say we did have a very bloody death scene, which was awesome because you know, in the early part of the Fear Street series, death scenes are not as bloody. But when you get to the later part of the series, that's where things get a lot bloodier and a lot more violent. Before all of that though, the deaths were not very bloody. But every once in a while, you would get a very bloody death. I remember reading this as a kid and being like, oh, hello. That was kind of violent. Another thing I remember thinking when I was a kid was how cheesy all of the cheers are in these books because, you know, my sisters, they were all cheerleaders. I grew up going to their games. I grew up watching Sugar and Spice and Bring It On. So it's a little humorous seeing that R.L. Stine is trying his best to write these cheers. And some of the cheers are actually real cheers, like the Razzmatazz thing, but most of them are just made up for the Fear Street books, I believe. Fear Street is in its own little bubble, man. It's just in this little weird ass snow globe where they're cut off from everything else in the world. All that exists is just Shadyside in this snow globe, and that's that. Anyway, now that Autumn Crow High Fresh Hell is finished and it's off to my editor, I'm gonna have a lot more time to read. So that's my main goal, is to finish reading The Cheerleaders now that I'm home and now that the book is done. A large picture window overlooked the campus. 2 small desks were pushed back to back in the middle of the room. A third desk stood against one wall between 2 low dressers. Over one of the dressers, someone had tacked up a poster of Harry Styles? See, this is what I'm talking about with the changes. So far, I've not detected really any changes to the book. It's not been modernized. Nobody has cell phones. I've not really seen any like modernization of slang, or, you know, I still have seen the word landline, I'm pretty sure. This reference to Harry Styles, why? This book was written in 1992. This was published in 1992. Let's see what they reference in this book. Over one of the dressers, someone had tacked up a poster of U2, which I feel like U2 is still on the radio. They still do make music. Nostalgia is in. Kids watch Stranger Things. The 90s are starting to come back and become nostalgic. So I feel like replacing it with Harry Styles is just lazy as can be. And I feel like, you know, if this were just treated as a time capsule to say U2, that's fine. But if you update that with Harry Styles, I feel like this will at some point seem outdated. Just like, you know, if it were to be replaced with the Jonas Brothers in the late 2000s, they're not called the Jonas Brothers anymore. It reminds me very much of when they reprinted them in these editions in like the mid 2000s, and they updated a lot of the references. Like, for instance, instead of saying VHS, they say DVD. And instead of saying, oh, they watched Die Hard, instead they say, oh, well, they watched The Lord of the Rings, which I don't think that really stands the test of time now. Yes, Lord of the Rings is a very popular movie still, it's a classic, but I don't think that's what most teenagers are going to be putting in nowadays. Therefore,
this is still outdated.
You may as well just keep it at YouTube. Why change it? Why? You didn't change these landlines to cell phones. Oh my God, the movies, they all took place in the 90s, the 70s. They banked off of the nostalgia. You've got tons of books nowadays that take place in the 90s or in the 80s. So why take something that is actually from the 90s and update it when everybody else is trying to replicate 90s things? It's like, oh, we're going to update everything that's old and we're going to make everything that's new seem old. Why? Anyway, I'm still very much enjoying my reread of The Cheerleaders. We already had another cheerleader fall on her head. So that's 2 falling teenagers. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I am now on to the 3rd Evil. I finished reading the 2nd Evil and it's great. I think the 2nd Evil might actually be my favorite of the trilogy. It's got lots of cemetery stuff. There's also a really wonderful scene. It takes place at night where the cheerleaders get together and they go to the burned down Fear Mansion. So the mansion is referenced many, many times throughout the books, and like the saga, for instance, really relies heavily on the history of the Fears, and it ends with the burning of the house. It's a big staple of Fear Street, but this is the first time any of the kids from Shadyside go to the Fear Mansion and go inside of it, and they try to do a little bit of a seance, and it's really good. It's really, really good. I was just reading it and I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember this, but I love it. You've got the atmosphere, you've got the ruins of this house. One of the cheerleaders, which is Deborah, who's really into the occult, it's all her idea. She's really excited to be there. And then you've got Corky, who is like, well, I want to get to the bottom of the evil presence that's haunting me. And then you've got Kimmy, who's just complaining the whole time that it smells bad and that there's probably rodents, and she's just not happy to be there. And I love the banter in the house while they're walking through these ruins. It's great. I really enjoy that part. I also like how dramatic the ending is for the 2nd Evil. It's really funny to me. I think a lot of people who read it and don't really get it are just gonna think it's cheesy and dumb, which it is. But that's part of what I think is so joyous about Fear Street. Like I said, it's a little snow globe of weirdness, Shadyside is. So anything can happen. Right now in the 3rd Evil, which has a wonderful cover of this girl doing the splits on a grave. I'm guessing that's Sarah Fear's grave. Yeah, it says Fear. You've got the cheerleaders going to cheerleader camp. Corky has just had a terrible dream about one of the characters who dies, another part of the series. I won't spoil anything. She has a dream that this person comes to her and they grab their hair and pull the top of their head off, and inside their head are a bunch of cockroaches, and it's so gross. So I'm about 30 pages into this one right now, and I'm loving it. So I'm gonna be reading a lot more of this tonight and tomorrow while I'm at work.
Nobody saw it coming, especially not Jack.
Oh, I did it! I finished reading Cheerleaders, the 3rd Evil. Let's get cozy and talk about it. But before we do, this video took a whole lot of time and effort. I'm talking weeks and weeks, reading, vlogging. The editing took days to do, days. I am not even kidding. So if you've made it this far, I hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, please don't forget to give me a like down below. I would really, really appreciate it. It takes just a second. It's like tipping, but it doesn't cost you any money. It's a free way to support the channel. Also, if you comment down below, even if you just leave me a skull or a pumpkin emoji, or just say, hey creep, that works too, and it does help to appease the YouTube gods. Enough of all of that, let's talk about the 3rd Evil. This book has all kinds of craziness and drama. Oh my God. So much more than I even remember, because I read this when I was very, very young, and I guess I didn't pick up on all of the teenage drama and angst. When the girls are at the cheerleading camp, they have a roommate that they don't like, and it seems like the evil spirit also doesn't like this roommate. She wakes up one day and she's like, oh, my hair, who cut my hair? She's always falling off of the pyramid and landing on her head. She burned herself on some scalding water and blamed it on the girls, and I could see why everybody hates her so much. And then the girls go back home and Corky starts to experience even more stuff involving the evil spirit, that maybe the evil spirit didn't actually die at the end of the book. And then we start to find out more and more about Sarah Fier, and that maybe she was actually possessed by this evil spirit, and how this evil has been locked up with Sarah Fier in her grave. If you want to find out all of that, you really just got to read the book. It's great. And I also actually found it a little bit emotional at the end, just a little bit. Corky actually lost somebody very close to her earlier on in the series, and there's a little reference to that at the end of the book. So, okay, yeah. R.L. Stine, he writes trash, but he actually does get me in the feels every once in a while. So there you have the Fear Street Cheerleaders Trilogy, one of the very best. It's a classic, it's wonderful. If you've not read any of the Fear Street books, I do recommend jumping straight to this and reading it, because it is a whole lot of fun. It's cheesy as hell, but it's also got a lot of atmospheric, moody kind of passages, lots of creepy cemetery scenes, and you know, the scene in the burned out mansion, foggy streets at night. Oh, I love it. It's got everything I love. Fear Street, thank you for raising me. Thank you for being such an influential part of my life, and thank you for inspiring me to write Autumn Crow High, which is out right now, so go get yourself a copy. Link is down below. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and don't forget to stick around to the very end, because, oh yes, there are some bloopers. I had to rehearse those cheers, by the way. I didn't just know them off the top of my head. So, yeah, it led to some bloopers. I hope you enjoy them. And until next time, later, creeps. We've got Razzmatazz, Pep, Punch, and Pizzazz. Hey, you've been had. Shady Sanitizer, we've got Razzmatazz, Pep, Punch, and Pizzazz. Hey, you've been had. We've got Razzmatazz, Pep, Punch, and Pizzazz. Hey, you've been had. Shady Side Tiger's got Razzmatazz. We've got Razzmatazz, Pep, Punch, and Pizzazz. Hey, you've been had. Shady Side Tiger's got Razzmatazz. We've got Razzmatazz, Pep, Punch, and Pizzazz. Hey, you've been had. Shady Side Tiger's got Razzmatazz.
Cheerleaders kick!